All right, let's get into the formal reasoning. It's important to see that there are different ways to structure this argument. We're going to look at two key versions. First, the one articulated by Hume himself, which he then goes on to critique. And second, William Paley's distinct and very famous formulation. So in his Dialogues Concerning Natural Religion, Hume presents the design argument as an argument from analogy. The reasoning goes like this. Premise 1. Nature, with all its intricate parts working together, looks a lot like things that humans design. Premise 2. This is a general rule of thumb for reasoning. Similar effects tend to have similar causes. And premise 3. We know for a fact that the cause of human designs is an intelligent mind. From these three premises, the argument concludes that the cause of nature must also be an intelligent mind. Now, William Paley's argument, which you might know from his watchmaker analogy, actually proceeds a little differently. He starts with a defining principle. If something has parts that are clearly organized to serve a purpose, then it's designed. He then points out that nature is full of things like this, an eye, for example. The immediate conclusion is that nature must contain designed things. From there, he adds another premise. Design logically requires a designer, and that designer has to be a mind that is separate from the thing it designed. The final conclusion, then, is that nature was designed by a mind that is distinct from nature itself. Okay, so it's absolutely crucial to understand the structural difference between these two arguments. Hume's version is an analogy. It works by comparing two effects, nature and human machines, and inferring that their causes must be similar. Paley's argument is different. It's a direct inference. He isn't just comparing things. He's claiming that a specific observable property, what he calls organization for a purpose, is a foolproof sign of a designer, no matter where you find it. So, now that we have the two arguments on the table, let's turn to David Hume's objections. These are powerful critiques that really challenge the core reasoning used to get from observations about nature to the conclusion of a designer. Hume's first major objection is aimed squarely at the argument's analogical form. He contends that the comparison between the entire universe and a human-made artifact is, when you really look at it, a very weak analogy. He gives a few reasons for this. First, the universe as a whole just isn't very much like a house or a machine. But maybe more importantly, there's a huge difference in scale. Hume talks about a great disproportion. To infer the cause of the entire cosmos based on the cause of one tiny human-made object is a massive, unjustified leap in reasoning. You can't reliably argue from a small part to the whole. Hume's second objection is even more fundamental. He argues that any attempt to reason about the origin of the universe is an argument from a unique case, and this violates the basic principles of how we establish cause and effect. Now, to really grasp this objection, we have to understand Hume's theory of causation. For Hume, all our knowledge of cause and effect comes from experience. We only feel confident saying A causes B after we've seen them paired together over and over again. He calls this constant conjunction, seeing B consistently following A many times. So, applying this principle, Hume argues that since the universe is a one-off event, we have absolutely no experience of its constant conjunction with any cause. We haven't seen a bunch of universes being made. Because of that, he says, we simply lack the empirical basis to infer anything about the cause of this one. Okay, so those are some serious objections from Hume. Now let's examine how Paley's formulation of the argument is structured in a way that tries to defend against these very critiques. Paley's main line of defense rests on that key distinction we made earlier. He argues that his argument isn't a weak analogy, so it isn't vulnerable to that critique. Instead, it's a direct, robust inference based on an observable property. So, how does Paley's argument handle Hume's unique case objection? Well, this is where the watchmaker thought experiment becomes so important. Paley argues that even if you'd never seen a watch before, even if it were a totally unique thing in your experience, you would still infer it had a maker. Why? Because of its intrinsic properties, its complex parts all arranged for a purpose. The inference comes from the object itself, not from past experience. And, Paley claims, the exact same logic applies to things in nature. So for Paley, the entire argument really hangs on this one central claim. The property of organization for a purpose is, in his view, a self-evident marker of design. He's arguing that this property alone provides sufficient grounds to infer a designer, and it doesn't matter if the case is unique or not. Paley also defends his position with a different kind of argument. He claims that when you look at the available options, an intelligent designer is simply the best explanation for the order we observe in the universe. We do have direct experience of one thing that causes organization for a purpose, and that's an intelligent mind. Therefore, Paley concludes, inferring a mind as the cause of natural order is the most rational explanation available to us. This table lays out the debate pretty clearly. First, on the argument's form, Hume objects that the analogy is weak. Paley replies that it's not an analogy, it's an inference. Second, on causal inference, Hume raises the unique case problem, saying causation requires constant conjunction. Paley replies that the property of purpose is enough for inference, even in a unique case like the watch. And third, on alternative explanations, Hume suggests chance could be the cause. Paley argues that a designer is a better explanation because we have evidence for minds creating purpose, but not for chance.